runs the risk of destroying the culture you're trying to create. As a leader, what do you recommend?
Okay, so I'm going to not answer your question. I'm going to answer a different question, and then I'm going to answer your question. Because the other question that I'm going to answer will give context. So I learned this from a guy on SEAL Team 6. So there are about 2,500 guys in the SEALs, and there's only about 300 guys in SEAL Team 6. They really are the best, right? And when they're evaluating whether they want to put somebody on SEAL Team 6, they look at two axes. They look at performance, and they look at trust. Of course, nobody wants this person, the low performer of low trust, of course. Of course, everybody wants this person, the high performer of high trust, of course. What they learn is that this person, the high performer of low trust, is a toxic leader. And that they would rather have a medium performer of high trust, sometimes even a low performer of high trust, it's a relative scale, over this person. The problem is, in business, we have 1,000,001 metrics to measure someone's performance, and we have negligible to 0 metrics to measure someone's trustworthiness. And that's the guy you got on your team. Because he's probably a high performer, which is why he hasn't been fired. Right? Because he was a low performer, they would have got rid of him. Right? And this is what we do in business. We keep promoting our top performers, and we ignore the kind of people they are. And it will destroy the culture, and it will destroy the company in time. Here's the folly. It is so easy to measure that. Because all you have to do is go and ask the people on the team, who's the asshole, and they will all point to the same person. And it may be your high performer. Equally so, if you go to the team and say, who do you trust more than anybody? Who's got your back no matter what? When the chips are down, this is the person you know will be there for you. Invariably, they will also all point to the same person, and it may not be your highest performer, but it's probably your best leader. In other words, it's really easy to find when we have a good system of peer reviews, which most of us don't have. Most of us have top-down evals, so we're all working for one person's approval. We don't have peer evals, so we're not working for the approval of our team, which usually starts to make sure that there's more soft, well, I like to call human skills, because I don't like soft skills, like human skills, hard skills and human skills, right? They bubble up and start to be amplified. So we have to give this person empathy. We don't know that anybody's ever taught him. He may have been brought up in or come from a company where that was the norm, and that's how he knows to get ahead, right? So once again, we start with empathy, right? We coach. We learn confrontation. Like, there's effective ways to have confrontation so that someone can take accountability for the way that they treat each other, right? I can answer that one for you offline. There's a whole system of confrontation technique, which is really brilliant. It works fantastically. But at the end of the day, with frequent amounts of coaching, and this person is uncoachable and is destructive, as you call them, cancer, is the organization well led enough, is the organization strong enough to remove that person on the grounds of values? Companies keep saying, our values are number one. Really? Then remove this person because they violate all of our values. Do you have the courage to fire a high performer who violates every value we hold dear? Right? They're called toxic geniuses, right? And most companies, which are poorly led, don't have the stomach to do that. We're like, well, his numbers are really good. Yeah, but everybody else's numbers are suffering because of it, as is the organization. And by the way, if he gets a better offer, he's out of here because there's no loyalty. And 99 times out of 100, when the company does eventually muster the courage to do the right thing and remove that person, everybody says, what took you so long? And everybody's performance rises because this one person has been holding everybody down. So I don't have a good answer for you, other than try and coach the person, try and work with them, try and let them know. Peer evals are great, because peer evals say, hey, no one trusts you. Did you know that? We know you're a high performer, and people think you're great at your job. It says right here, people really respect you with your skill set, but did you know that no one trusts you? Right now, a good person will say, whoa, I gotta fix that. A bad person will say, I know why they're saying that. It's because we worked on this one project. They don't know me well enough, right? No accountability for how they have. In other words, are they coachable or not coachable? But you've got to start with the disposition that they are coachable, that they've never been taught, they've never been told. So that's our baseline. But at the end of the day, if it doesn't work, I hope the organization has the ability to get rid of them. The final point is ignore them. So in anthropology, we know that when you have a high performer or a low performer, somebody who refuses to serve the group, a well-led group where the group is actually very cohesive will organically ostracize that person. Because the group wants them to learn the lesson that we will absolutely take care of you once you learn that this is how we do things. In a corporate environment, it's a little different because if somebody's ostracized by the group, it might make them go rogue, blah, 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 blah. But at the end of the day, there's been lots written about this, about how to deal with toxic leaders. And the way you deal with toxic leader is with good leadership. In other words, when the group comes together, that person loses their bite. The stronger the group takes care of each other, the weaker that person becomes. And what bad leaders do, or what toxic people do inside our groups, is they keep us all divided, because the more divided we are, the more they stay in power. So the better we lead, the better you lead, the better you take care of the group, the better they start to come together, you'll find that that person's bite becomes soft.
Great answer.